Before we go in to record, there's two concepts I want to run through quick that can really help make the verse sound a lot better. Like, there's a certain way you want to deliver the rhyming words in order to get the most out of them. Now, some of this may seem easy or not so easy, but it's all very important. And if you can master the sort of technique I'm going to talk about, we'll have a ton of work for you. We've been looking for an artist who can record our verses the right way for a bit now. And we have a couple artists who can do like 80% of what we need, but we're really looking for that home run talent who can keep up with the verses' more complex timing, as well as someone who has the style and confidence to really own the lyrics when they're in the booth. So just heads up. Now, the first concept is pretty simple. You just need a general understanding of what's rhyming with what. Let me use a couple bars from the verse to show you what I mean. So with this scheme here, there's 2 bars, right? 1 and 2. And when you're in the booth, you just have to have a general awareness of which words are supposed to rhyme together. So in this case, it's rum and wine, summertime, come to grind, tons of dimes, and from behind. So rum and wine goes with summertime, which goes with come to grind, tons of dimes, and from behind. Those are the rhyming words. And in the typed lyrics we send you, all the rhyming words are highlighted in red and in bold, just like you see here. So it's clear what goes with what. It's clear that rum and wine goes with summertime. And the words that are in all caps, like rum and from, those are the syllables that you want to hold a bit longer than the normal typed words. Now, with these 2 bars in particular, it's pretty obvious as far as what words you're trying to rhyme, but let me show you another 2-bar example from the verse where you're rhyming a bit more syllables. Okay, so for these 2 bars here, 1 and 2, you're rhyming living in ecstasy, giving in sexually, and pivoting next to me. So when you're in the booth and you're about to do this line, you just need that awareness of, okay, I'm about to rhyme living in ecstasy, giving in sexually, and pivoting next to me. You just have to know that those are the sections that go together. Pretty simple. You may even be saying to yourself, like, no duh, of course you got to know what you're rhyming before you record, but nevertheless it's very important because it makes the second part, which I'm going to get to right now, much easier. So the second part is making it obvious what is rhyming with what. The first part was simply knowing what is rhyming with what, just having the awareness that, like, living in ecstasy is rhyming with giving in sexually and pivoting next to me. And now the second part is making that obvious to the person listening, making it as clear as possible to them what words are rhyming with what words. So when they're in their car or whatever listening to the verse, it's very easy for their ear to pick up on the rhyming schemes. It's very easy for their ear to notice the patterns. That's the key. That's what can take a verse from a 6 to a 10. Now, how do you go about doing that? How do you make it obvious what is rhyming with what? And this is the technique I was referring to. What you do is you change your delivery a bit when you hit the first rhyme and then keep that same delivery throughout the rest of the rhyme scheme. The most common way to change your delivery is to just emphasize the words a bit more or to change your pitch. So, for example, with these 2 bars here, I'm going to noticeably change my delivery on the first rhyme and then keep that same delivery throughout the rest of the rhyme scheme. The first rhyme for this one is live or living in. So right when I hit live, I'm going to change my tone a bit and then keep that change throughout the rest of the rhyme scheme. So through giving in sexually and pivoting next to me. And I'm no rapper, so just bear with my nasally ass voice as I try and do these lines right. And now they're living in ecstasy, giving in sexually, and pivoting next to me. So you should be able to clearly hear a change in my tone and then how I keep that same tone with the rest of the rhymes in that flow. I'll do it one more time. And now they're living in ecstasy, giving in sexually, and pivoting next to me. So you can hear that change, right? Or hear how I'm really emphasizing that part living in, and then keeping it the same for the rest of the flow with given and sexually and pivoting next to me. Now I'll do the same thing with the other two bars we were looking at. So with this one, I'll start my emphasis on rum, and then I'll keep it that way through the rest of the flow. So I'll hit rum hard, and then I'll do the same for some, come, tons, and from. And you can see how they're all at the same spot in relation to each other when you stack the rhyming words on top of each other like this, right? So they're all in this line here. Rum, some, come, tons, and from. I want to emphasize all these the same way and just hit them harder, right? So it should sound something like this. With a bit of rum and wine, it's summertime. I come to grind with tons of dimes from behind. All right, so you can hear how I'm really going after these words, right? And then I keep it that way through the whole flow. Like I don't hit rum hard and some hard and then all of a sudden hit grind and dimes hard, right? That would sound like this. With a bit of rum and wine, it's summertime. I come to grind with tons of dimes from behind. So that's the wrong way to do it. Once I start that first emphasis on rum, then I gotta keep that same one through the rest of the flow. I hope I'm explaining that good. So I'll do the bad take one more time where it's with a bit of rum and wine, it's summertime. I come to grind with tons of dimes from behind, versus the good take, which is with a bit of rum and wine, it's summertime. I come to grind with tons of dimes from behind. So it sounds much better when the emphasis is the same throughout the whole flow, right? When it's rum, some, come, tons, and from. Now I'll do one more example with the first two bars right at the beginning of the verse. So with this one, the rhyming words are town of Beirut, crowned in gray goose, bound to stay loose, and down to make moves. Now I'll start my emphasis with town. So I'll hit the word town a bit harder and then keep that through the rest of the rhymes here. So I'll hit crown, bound, and down a bit harder as well. And so when I'm doing this, I'm really trying to emphasize these four: town, crown, bound, and down. So it should sound something like this. In the town of Beirut, with crown and gray goose, I'm bound to stay loose and down to make moves. So hopefully you're getting what I mean. You're just really trying to emphasize these four: town, crown, bound, and down. It's really important this emphasis thing is on point with each of the flows. That's priority number one. It may sound sort of nitpicky, but you'd be surprised at how much it can impact a verse or a song. And again, if you can get this emphasis technique mastered, we'll have a ton of work for you. But that's about it. Just have an awareness of what you're rhyming and be able to emphasize those rhymes the right way. Now in the other video, I'm just going to quickly run through each flow and cover any spots that might be a problem when we go in to record.